Okay, let's just get this F-bomb out of the way, all right? There it is. Feminism. Oh, feminism. You know, my mom and I found religious tracts once when we were at a laundromat that educated us on the toll that feminism takes on families. Husbands and wives confused about who's supposed to clean the fridge or mow the lawn. And I just imagine that same-sex couples must face this same debilitating confusion on a daily basis. And then there's the children, whiling away hours at daycare centers, unsure who their real parents are. You know, the tract was laughable, but they got one thing right. Feminism takes a toll on feminists. Because becoming aware of inequality is like suddenly having a giant spotlight shone in your face in the middle of a deep sleep. Suddenly you're awake and you see everything. And it's shocking and scary, and you wondered how you never saw it before. Things you once loved are now suspect, but you know you can't go back to sleep no matter how much better it felt because, as the saying goes, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Inclusive language is a really great example of this. I came across this on the internet recently. I don't mind being called a firewoman because I know it covers both women and men. Anything else would sound silly. Frank, male firewoman. Now, this was written by a UK man with the Twitter handle, Man Who Has It All. And he has a knack for calling out sexist double standards in hilariously unforgiving ways. And I share it because I think we need to be a little more hilariously unforgiving with the Bible. The Bible is perhaps the #1 offender when it comes to using exclusively male titles and pronouns to refer to both men and women and God. And yet we've largely accepted this, as though being politically incorrect is far more tolerable than editing the Bible. But this isn't just about being politically correct. We could go through the Bible and edit every he to they and his to theirs, father to parent. It would likely be enlightening, powerful, but we'd still have a huge problem. Because as bad as it is that women are grossly underrepresented in the Bible, this isn't even the biggest issue. What's worse is that when women are mentioned, they are frequently objectified or violated, and largely valued only in terms of sexuality and reproduction. So what do I mean when I say objectified? Well, let's take these crayons. I bought this new pack earlier this week for my 2-year-old. Similarly, Jacob loved Rachel, and he said, "I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." And Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than I should give her to any other man. Stay with me." Now, it's not as though my daughter doesn't already have dozens of crayons. We just forgot them at home, so she needed a Winnipeg set for her grandparents. Plus, these ones have glitter in them. David came to his house in Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 concubines whom he had left to look after his house. Now, okay, there is a chance that my daughter won't even touch these crayons. She's on a bit of a Play-Doh kick right now, so they may stay in the box. And David put the concubines in a house under guard and provided for them, but did not go into them. So they were shut up until the day of their death, living as if in widowhood. Now here's another truth. If my daughter does open this box of crayons, they don't stand much of a chance. It's likely she will peel the paper off of them and then snap them in half. I've decided not to get too worked up about it because we can always melt them down for some other craft and get a new set. And you know what? I wish it were difficult for me to find a biblical story as graphically violent towards women as a toddler can be to crayons. And it's not. There are many stories like this, stories in which God is silent at best, condoning the violence at worst. The truth about this box of crayons is that it's not even about the crayons. It's about the kid who's playing with them, learning how to hold a crayon, to be creative, to express herself. Because crayons are objects, but people are not. People have power and agency. People have hopes, dreams, opinions, ideas. Women are people, but in the Bible, women are objects, props, used to tell the stories of men. And I want you to know that I'm not just cherry-picking a few verses from an otherwise healthy orchard. We're talking about a widespread disease that is threatening to devastate the whole thing. We're talking about a major reason why so many women and men have rejected the Bible's authority and relevance altogether. So how does feminist interpretation help us? Well, first, it gives us permission to ask important questions. Questions like, why is this story even in the Bible? And does it help or hurt my faith? Does this metaphor of God fit with the God I have come to know throughout my life? And it also gives us permission to name some important truths, like the Bible is full of contradictions and even problems. The biblical writers were subject to the same limitation and sin that they were writing about. And in the words of Phyllis Tribble, the Bible was born and bred in a land of patriarchy. Now, perhaps most importantly, though, feminist interpretation encourages us to redeem the Bible from that patriarchy by employing the following techniques with the help of the Spirit, of course. We must recover the voices of biblical women. This means exposing the horror of their sufferings, naming injustice, and giving voice to their joys, fears, and outrage. To quote Tribble once again, we do this to recover a neglected history, to remember a past that the present embodies, and to pray that these terrors shall not come to pass again. We begin to redeem the story when the woman is no longer an object or a prop, but a person. When we acknowledge that Jacob loved Rachel, but we fear that Rachel was never asked if she loved Jacob. When we realize that it wasn't just Jesus who was a superstar for talking to the Samaritan woman at the well, but that she was incredibly bold and courageous as well. And finally, feminist interpretation gives us the option to reject, acknowledging that there are some stories that no amount of interpretation can redeem. If a biblical story gets in the way of a healthy relationship with God or one another, reject the story, not your faith. For me, feminist interpretation allowed me to pick up the Bible again. It took me many years and an extensive theological education, but I now feel better equipped to discern the Word of God from the words of the Bible. And that's a gift that we can share with others, giving them permission to question, to critique, and to be creative in filling the gaping holes in the stories, emancipating women's voices from the stories of men. Thank you.